I went camping alone for the first time last September. I'd just gotten out of a relationship and needed to reset. There was a lake I remembered from childhood trips, clear water, flat as glass, nestled deep in the woods. My plan was to hike in, camp 2 nights, and leave my phone off the entire time. Day 1 was uneventful in the best way. I found the old trailhead, followed it through the pines, and set up near the edge of the lake. It was exactly how I remembered. Quiet, secluded, still. The silence was the first thing I noticed. No birdsong, no wind, just the sound of my boots on damp ground and the occasional lap of water against the shore. It felt like the entire forest was holding its breath. I set up camp, ate, watched the sunset bleed orange across the lake, and got into my sleeping bag by 9. That night, I barely slept. I kept hearing sounds. Not wildlife, not branches falling. Voices, low, broken whispers echoing across the lake. Like a conversation just out of earshot. Once or twice, I thought I heard my name. In the morning, I convinced myself it had been a dream. I made coffee, hiked a bit, read by the water. By noon, I felt better. That night, though, I made a mistake. I smoked before bed. Just a little, barely a few puffs. But I'd brought it to relax, and I figured, why not? It was a calm high at first, slow thoughts, warm limbs, but then I noticed the quiet again. Total silence, like someone had turned the world off. And then the voices started up again, louder this time. They came from across the lake. I couldn't make out words, just tones. One soft, one harsh, male and female maybe. Then something changed. It was closer. The voices didn't echo anymore. They were near, right near the edge of the water. I turned off my lantern and held my breath. My tent glowed faintly from the moonlight above, and through the thin nylon fabric, I saw something move. A shadow. Someone, or something, walked past my tent. Slow. Deliberate. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. Then I heard splashing, like footsteps entering the water. Then, nothing. In the morning, I wanted to pack up and leave, but I convinced myself it had just been the weed playing tricks on me. I hadn't even seen a face. It could have been an animal, right? I stayed. I shouldn't have. That afternoon, I hiked around the lake. About halfway along the shoreline, I found an old dock I didn't remember being there. Rotten boards, half submerged. A few yards beyond it, I saw something caught in the trees. Fabric. I pulled it loose. It was a torn hoodie, weathered, sun-bleached, but I could still read the logo on the chest. It was from a college nearby. Inside the front pocket, there was a photo. 2 people, a guy and a girl, standing in front of this very lake. The guy looked familiar. Not like someone I knew, but like someone I'd seen. Then I remembered the voices. That night I didn't light a fire. I didn't eat. I just sat in my tent clutching a flashlight. At some point, I must have dozed off. I woke up around 2 a.m. to a sound that made my stomach drop. A scream. It came from across the water, high, panicked. A woman's voice. "Help! Help me! Someone please!" It was coming from the waterline. I unzipped the tent as quietly as I could. The lake looked like black glass, but I could see a figure standing waist deep in the water. Arms limp, head tilted. "Please," I stepped back into the tent and zipped it shut. At dawn, I didn't pack up. I just grabbed what I needed and ran. When I reached the car, I finally turned on my phone. 2 bars of service, a bunch of texts, one from my cousin that froze my blood. "Was that lake you went to called Whisper Lake?" I replied yes. He sent me a screenshot of an article from a few years ago. Local couple presumed drowned in remote lake. The photo showed the same guy and girl from the picture in the hoodie. The article said their bodies were never recovered. Hey there, Nocturnals. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to never miss a video. These aren't ghost stories. These actually happened. Keep watching to find out what really went wrong. I was doing a solo trip through northern Pennsylvania. Nothing fancy. Just some backwoods tent, camping at an old, loosely maintained state campground I'd found online. The kind of place with no running water and no check-in station. Just a few numbered plots, a rusted-out picnic table, and a fire ring made of stone. I chose campsite 12. It was near the tree line, farther from the others, but close enough that I didn't feel completely isolated. The first night was peaceful, just the crackle of the fire, a beer in hand, and the hum of cicadas. Around 9 p.m., a man wandered by. He was tall, late 50s maybe, with a thick gray beard and a sun-leathered face. Wore a ranger hat and jacket, but it all looked vintage, almost like a Halloween costume. He nodded at me. "Everything all right out here?" "Yeah, all good," I said. He smiled but didn't leave, just sort of stood there, scanning the trees behind me. "This one's got history, the fire ring," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" He just nodded again. "Sleep light." Then walked off into the woods, no flashlight in his hand, which I thought was odd. Morning, I asked the only other campers, a retired couple in a van across the clearing, if they'd seen a ranger last night. They said no. Claimed they hadn't seen anyone in uniform the whole time they'd been there, and they'd been parked for 2 days already. Later that day, I poked around the fire ring. Something about the stones looked different. They were newer than the rest of the site, like they'd been rebuilt. When I tried to dig out some ash to cook breakfast, my small shovel clanked against something solid, metal. I dug further and found what looked like an old charred badge, mostly melted, but the lettering was still legible. It read, Pennsylvania State Parks. That night, I couldn't stop staring at the fire pit. This might sound crazy, but it felt like it was watching me. Around 1 a.m., I heard someone walking around the perimeter of my camp. Not fast, not trying to hide. Just slow, deliberate steps, circling. Then the footsteps stopped. I peeked out of the tent. No one. But the fire pit was smoking. No glow, no heat. Just thin tendrils of smoke rising straight into the air, like breath from something still alive beneath the soil. And the smell, not wood, not ash, something sweeter, rotten, metallic, like burning meat. I stepped closer, and I heard it, faint and wrong, like it was coming from underneath the stones.
Help me.
The voice was dry, low, and choked like it had been buried a long time ago. I froze. The smoke thickened, curling up into my face, like it wanted me to breathe it in. I backed away, packed up my stuff in record time, and left while it was still dark. I asked a nearby gas station clerk about the campground. He scratched his beard and looked over his shoulder like he wasn't sure he should tell me. Used to be a ranger out there years ago. Real dedicated guy. Patrolled that site like it was sacred. But he went missing one fall. Never found him. I asked if he knew which site the guy was last seen on. He nodded slowly. Site 12. New videos every Thursday and Sunday. See you there.